Hello and welcome to the Fantasmagorium. I'm Kat, joined by Ernesto.
Hello.
We are finally bringing back Capes, Cowls, and Crusaders for the debut of our Batman comic book show.
Yes, yes, yes. How's the evening going, Kat?
All right, kind of quiet.
Yeah.
Uh, I guess in the interest of some news dropped today, film-related news.
Mm.
Four of the films which our viewers might be familiar with are added to the National Film Registry today were The Thing by John Carpenter, The Incredibles by Brad Bird, Inception by Christopher Nolan, and The Grand Budapest Hotel by Wes Anderson.
It's probably my favorite of Wes Anderson's movies, The Grand Budapest Hotel.
Uh,
It's a pretty nice list.
yep, and they got 21 other movies listed there that you could check out. Um, Last week, I forgot to mention that there was another movie I saw. Uh, the new Shudder original movie, Night Patrol. I didn't know it was a Shudder original movie when I went to see it. The first half was actually like a pretty good cop movie, even when they were hinting at that it was going to be like a vampire story with Zulu religion sprinkled in. The protagonist is pretty good, uh, but then the second half it gets a little cheesy and a little over gratuitous with just the blood, guts, and gore, but some interesting character twists and such. Just didn't maintain the same level of quality as the first half, unfortunately, which is sort of on par for Shutter movies. So, and I gave it like 3 out of 5.
Yeah. I wonder if Shudder is trying to do like Blumhouse in a way. Like cheap but without the marquee, I guess is how I put it.
Yeah, um, perhaps.
Well, I mean they even have their own streaming service, right?
They do. Yeah, that's how it started, actually.
Yeah.
It's streaming, and then they started
Have
paying
like
to get
that.
their movies in theaters.
Yeah, they had like that Netflix effect where they're exclusively horror thrillers, and then they got enough cash to do their own stuff. And as soon as it hits theaters for however limited time, because it's free press, then it goes into Shutter.
Yeah. Then I saw Mercy, the new Chris Pratt movie, and that unfolds a lot like Searching and Missing. Suspenseful story with a lot of, having to do your own little investigation through the internet and iPhones and stuff like that. But it gets really overblown with the climax turning a simple murder investigation into a much bigger thing than it actually needs to be or should be. Uh, and just
I think it's from the same creators of Searching and Missing.
uh, Timur Bakov.
It's either the same creator because I think he did what was that horror movie of which was kind of like filmed on a like the same way that Searching and Missing was, where it's like the dark web. The first movie, like
I don't think I saw. Let me look this guy
it
up.
was like, it was like
He
years
didn't
before,
make either. He didn't make either of those films. So,
but it borrows the same. It borrows the same. Uh,
oh, Profile. Is that what you're thinking?
Maybe it's profile, but it has something to do with social media, and it's all recorded on a laptop, and the guy ends up in the dark web seeing things he shouldn't.
I don't
Uh,
know. This is the same guy who made Wanted and Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
okay, book reads better than what they ended up adapting with A versus A Vampire Hunter.
Yeah, and then with this movie, it's like the whole AI thing, which is one of the reasons that everybody's shitting on it as much as they are, because it does leave you with a really cringeworthy sentiment at the end. It's like, no, no. It's like the whole movie is making the argument no, and then it's like, no, but it's okay. It's like, no,
Yeah,
just no.
I I thought it was fine. I figured out who the culprit was, even though they tried to do the the red herring at one point, but then when it finally got to who it actually was, I'm like, well, I mean, yeah. It's one of those situations where I only knew about this movie when I saw the trailer at the end of December. A very cheap looking trailer that did no favors for this movie because when you're watching it on a small screen, the green screen pops out disgustingly so. And
Mm.
all I knew was that it had Rebecca Ferguson and Chris Pratt, and I didn't really look further into it. And because it was a January movie, and somehow they're promoting it as a 3D experience, where I'm just like, why? Why do you persist?
Well, it even said IMAX on one of the posters. I'm like, really?
Exactly. And then you see one of those. Sometimes I want to meet the people who makes these quotes from the reviews, like the best 3D experience since the first Avatar. I'm like, excuse you?
Yeah.
Like, excuse you? What? How many 3D movies have you seen in your life? If that's
Well,
the big recommendation you're doing.
they're just lying at this point because they figure they can get away with it.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, man, Amazon really paid for that quote, didn't they? And it's an MGM movie, and Amazon owns MGM. And then when you see one of the actors, I forget his name, but I know him from This Is Us. I'm like, oh well, of course. Then you get into the. It's funny because it's really not that far out from where we are right now in society with how we're connected to social media, the internet, and how privacy is literally a thing of the past and the way this movie makes it look. But then they throw in some technological curveballs, like of course, like the AI courtroom, which is Rebecca Ferguson, she's an AI. But then they have these flying
Right.
motorcycles that the cops use where I'm just like, okay, I know I've seen on CNET and robotics that they're creating those types of vehicles to be used commercially at some point, but it doesn't make sense to me that it's just randomly inserted into this movie because the movie was giving me Minority Report vibes. And then when you see her driving that helicopter motorcycle, I'm just like, okay, now you're really trying to be Minority Report.
Mhm.
But randomly. And then it gets into those video game graphic car chases where I'm just like, yeah, that's video game graphics.
And
Um,
because the plot demanded it, they don't need search warrants to access anybody's digital history that they want at any
because
time.
because they were all obligated to sign up for it
Yeah.
if they were going to continue living in LA. Where I'm just like, you're pretty much giving people a reason to leave LA at this
Yeah.
point. But I didn't question most of the things happening, especially with the fact that you mean to tell me that in 90 minutes you're going to be judge, juror, and executioner when the crime has just happened and you're not going to investigate it further. Like on the one hand, yeah, that doesn't hold any water, but on the other hand, I'm like, well, I mean, this is kind of building on those dystopian movies that came before it, where you just accept the reality that this is the
Yeah.
world. But because they've only had in universe, and this is a minor spoiler, they've only had 18 cases. I'm like, wait, 18? That's it? Like,
Yeah, I remember also that, some of the most famous cases ever were the guy was arrested on Monday and convicted by a Friday. Yeah, they were still safe convictions because the investigations were easy, and then the execution would be like maybe 6 months later.
what did they
but
catch Solomon Grundy? Is that why?
but
Caught on Monday, tried on a Friday.
yeah, exactly. Uh, but they were
Batman.
really but they were really great cases. But they still had the detectives investigate rather than decide right away. Like, whereas this AI court basically decides, well, you look guilty. We think this is the leading theory, so it must be true. And by the way, they specify that you're guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah. Do you see anything else?
Yes, I went out and saw in theaters the extended cuts of all the Lord of the Rings films.
All three movies.
Yes. Uh,
Nice. I did that the year before. Great, great experience.
yep, I did that 2 years ago and it was wonderful. And unlike 2 years ago, this time Peter Jackson gave like a 10-minute intro to each one. And
Hmm.
it's funny because it looks like he probably recorded all of them at the same time and he just changed his Hawaiian shirt between each between each recording. And he would
Man,
tell
I
funny
love
stories.
Hawaiian shirts, I swear.
Yeah, he'd tell funny stories and then eventually stop saying, "Yeah, I better stop, otherwise this is going to get longer than the movie itself." And I saw the first one Friday night, which was a pretty full theater. Second, or no, yeah, and then the second one on Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock, and then the third one I ended up seeing on Tuesday night, and my buddy and I were the only two in there. So we got to have our own running commentary and making a bunch of jokes and stuff, which was pretty fun. uh, but yeah, those movies. I mean, yeah, some of the CGI doesn't hold up as well as it did, when you're watching it on a big screen 20 years later. But those are still really great theatrical experiences.
There are some that don't, but there are others that even when you can tell they don't hold up, you're kind of lost in the moment that you
Mhm,
really. The thing is because you're so into it that at that point it's just like there's really no need to complain. And I mean, yeah, you can point it out. Hell, even the first one when they're doing that model zoom in with the tiny camera, and then you can definitely see that that has not held up. But
mhm,
I do distinctly remember the first time I saw it in theater. That was one of the best visual effect experience since Jurassic Park. Um, but then when you get to the Two Towers, and then
mhm,
you get to Return of the King, and you see the galloping might of Rohan in both movies,
mhm.
and the music is playing, you and you have the best surround sound possible. It's like, yes, yes, I'm in it. Fun
Yeah.
fact: the first time I saw Return of the King, I left my glasses in my dad's car because he dropped me off to go watch the movie. He didn't see it with me when it premiered, and he dropped me off Saturday at the first showtime because this was before online ticket. I mean, online ticketing was starting to be used a lot more frequently. So my dad got the ticket for me. All I had to do was go up front and put in his debit card information, and the machine would have popped out the ticket. Not like now when we have the apps and everything. And I remember I walked in there because I was having transition lenses weren't that popular. So I had separate sunglasses and separate glasses, both had prescription on it. And I remember walking in there and I'm taking off my sunglasses. I'm like, oh crap. And I didn't have a cell phone at the time that because I was in between phones, so I didn't have one. So I couldn't call my dad to be like, hey, because he told me that when the movie was over, he was gonna be waiting for me out in the front. So I'm like, well, I can't call him. I can't go chasing after him. I guess I'm stuck. So I ended up my first experience watching The Return of the King was with my sunglasses on. And I
So
told my dad, hey, can I watch it on Sunday? Like, can you bring me over so I can watch it again? With my regular glasses. He said, yeah, you can. He saw me walking out with my sunglasses, just like, you watched the whole movie with your sunglasses on. Like, yeah, you left them in the car. Yeah. And he and then he went like this. You know the way your father laughs at you when you do something stupid, but he can't help but laugh at your expense, and he does it in like the.
no, my dad doesn't do that, but
Oh, it's a thing that certain dads do that it's very like, give us some mama. Sorry, I got Blue down here. She wants attention. Before we
uh,
get to the main show, I did acquire two new physical medias.
okay.
Leviathan in 4K,
Never heard of it. Or maybe I have.
and one that you are familiar with, and it's a Criterion purchase.
Oh, Silence of the Lambs, nice.
Silence of the Lambs, and it was on
11 Pi,
for 1999. So I bought it right on the spot.
nice. Oh, and I saw Hamnet this week,
Yeah.
and I didn't like it. Uh, I thought the first 3/4 of the movie was not telling a cohesive story at all. It felt more interested in trying to jump around to moments that make you cry. I thought it was weird that they teased this subplot with the William's father, and at one point when William has to go back to do another theatrical contract in London, he tells his son, stay away from Grandpa, don't listen to him. And it's like, well, the grandpa and the grandma are living in the same house or near the same property, but for some reason he's not shown to be present in the house for any of the other major events that occur in the house during the story, but the grandma's always there. So that I found was kind of confusing. Uh, and yeah, Jesse Buckley's really good, but I didn't feel they spent a lot of time developing the characters. It's like we just really wanted to try and get you to turn on the waterworks as quickly as possible. And it's not until the Globe Theater scene that I really started getting into it. And it's like, okay, this is really good. But I didn't care for everything leading up to that. So I wasn't as won over and enamored as everybody else was by this movie.
Hmm.
So
Well,
it's not gonna make my top list
I
of
was
this year.
I was the complete opposite. I
Mm,
think maybe I had two moments where my eyes were getting a bit misty.
mhm,
The the one was when the son took over, like he took his sister's place. And then the second one to me was like the scene after, where the moment her son stops breathing, and that's when she lets out that gut wrenching cry that her son died. And it like, you know, they always say that, and again, this is just an aside, they always say that, you know, as you get older, or where you have like different life experiences, you start connecting with things differently than you would have 10-15 years ago and stuff like that. I'm not a parent, and no, the furry kids don't count. But at that moment, I don't know. It's just the movie caught me at that singular point where I'm like, oh, whew, that really got me. And it just, like, I wasn't bawling my eyes out, but I'm just like, whoo, that I felt that one. I felt that cry. I felt that. I felt the intensity in that performance. So I'm like, you know what? I'm in it. Let's go for it. And then when you get to the third act at the Dome Theater, I've seen that actor before, the guy who played Hamlet.
Well, yeah, it's the kid's brother, the kid's real life brother.
No, the actor. No, the actor.
Yeah, I know. He is also the real life brother of the kid who played Hamlet, Noah Jupe, and Jacoby Jupe.
Okay, but aside from that, in real life, I've seen him in something else. I can't recall what it was.
Yeah, I know. He was in Ford v Ferrari. He was the.
That's the one. Kid. Thank you, Ford v Ferrari. That's the one. Yeah, I'm just like, damn, you grew up. You're making me feel old.
Yeah, so I said he's the kid's actual real life brother. That's why they cast it, which is why that's a deliberate casting, because they wanted him to look as much like that kid, so that way she has a stronger connection when she sees him on the stage. So that whole sequence was really good, and I'm surprised that it ends right when it does, instead of her and him coming back together at the end. It just ends at the stage. So I thought, okay, that's kind of interesting, but yeah, I didn't really hit with it, but okay.
Did it not hit with you because you thought it was going to be something else?
No, I knew what the basic premise was. When I'm watching this, I'm like, this isn't a really engaging story. They're just hanging around. We're doing some time jumps, and he's going off to London to write plays or whatever. And we got no sense of, was he successful during his first contract enough when he's leaving, and he mentions that he wants to buy him the property in Stratfordshire, and I didn't even notice whenever they moved to Stratfordshire, because the property looked almost identical to the one they were already living in. I mean, I liked it when she's bringing up the idea that, your son just died and you're more worried about getting back to your theatrical troupe, the next day, but because he's in such a hurry, we can't really extrapolate on that. But mostly he's just kind of going ho-hum, following them around, the wife around the house or whatever. I'm like, this isn't really. I was kind of bored with a lot of it. I'm like, where are we? I mean, I knew that we're supposed to be building up to a tragedy, but I didn't feel like there was a ton of character development, and that it's basically expecting you to say, because, oh, of course it's horrible that a mother's son dies or whatever, that we're supposed to automatically start, wailing and turning on the waterworks. I didn't feel it was as earned. And I was kind of interested more in what was going on with the Shakespeare story, so that when they get to London, and like when they find out he's living in this shoddy attic apartment, it's like, oh, that should be a real moment. And then instead they go straight to the Globe Theater, which is why I was kind of anticipating that they would have some type of, I mean, yes, you get that they're reconciled. You just assume they're going to be reconciled from her watching the play.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just didn't. It hit me like it has been everybody else, and I don't know. I've kind of felt that way about a lot of Chloe Zhao's films. They don't really. It's like, okay.
It's also one of those moments where I'm watching it and I kind of forgot where I was, where I'm seeing it. I'm just like, oh, this is how they used to watch entertainment. That looks very uncomfortable. I started laughing because they're all pulling in, and there are no chairs. They're all standing, and you see Buckley just like leaning onto the stage, and I'm just like, that can't be comfortable. Just standing there for however long this thing is going to play out.
Old Man Bird asks you, Ernesto, have you proposed to someone before? Curious about your outlook on the romance thing when evaluating these things.
No, haven't proposed yet. Had my heart broken many times, but I still maintain the hopeless romantic vibe, because I always find myself falling into that trap of every time I meet someone and there's a vibe or a type of chemistry, I can't help but picture what the next 5 years are going to look like even before we have our first cup of coffee together.
Daniel's Hot Topics asks, who's your favorite Robin? Mine is Stephanie Brown.
Oh, it's always going to be Dick Grayson, age 12.
For me, yeah, I like Dick Grayson a lot too, but more when he's older. I like kind of when he becomes almost like the elder statesman of the other Robins.
Yeah.
That I dig that. Speaking of other Batman related news, I did order The Last Halloween, which will be here on Monday. I was looking and I'm kind of behind on my Batman comics. I only have volume 1 of Chip Zdarsky's run. He did 5 volumes total, all of which are available to get now. And the latest writer is Matt Fraction, who's done a lot of great Marvel comics as well. And his first volume 1 compilation of Batman will be out in June.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that he was tied to writing some Batman books. There is one, and I've told myself before to go back and pick up where I left off on the comics that I was reading since 2019. So I've got 6 years and counting worth of comics I've got to track down because I got to finish Scott Snyder's revamping of the universe because he was writing Justice League, and the last book I read was the precursor to Apex Lex Luthor, where Lex Luthor kind of becomes a metahuman. That was the last book I read. And then they went through a whole year of every single villain getting their... It was because they were you remember the Legion of Doom, like that old cartoon Legion of Doom? Yeah. He was basically pulling, like, exploring every single corner of the DC universe into his Justice League title that he was writing, and he was just bringing every single reference to the company-wide story that he was telling. He even had Starro at one point become a member of the Justice League, and because he was so tiny as a surviving member of the giant version, he was always hanging around with Batman, and because Batman was the authority, Starro was just like, all right, Bat Dad, what do you want me to do next? And I'm like, for a comic book and anything happens in comics, I'm like, that is adorable, and I want more of it. I believe he becomes a Robin at some point. You see him like wearing the cape and the trousers, and he's a little starfish in a little jar. And I'm like, that is precious. And I can't believe it works. It just does.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, so that's about where I am with Batman. Volume 1 Failsafe by Chip Zdarsky was the last one I read in the whole line. And I've got 4 more volumes of his, which I have not yet gotten. Mm-hmm. And then we'll have the Matt Fraction one in June. And Hush 2 gets its first publication in as a collected trade paperback in July.
Yeah. And knowing me, I'm going to be hunting down every single issue that I've missed since. So I see myself spending at one point $5,000 to catch up on 6 years of comic books. Oof. I say 5,000 because if I pick up certain issues that something major happens and I get them in at least 8.5 or higher grading, it's going to be a hefty penny. You want to know how much I paid for Batman #1 from the New 52? Almost $100.
Wow, where'd you get it?
eBay. And I only gave the person less than perfect star because he made me wait for it.
My comic book shop doesn't have, I mean, the ones they have on display are a huge Marvel section, a small DC section, but then you got to go through all the boxes in the back, and they're not as organized as they should be. So I don't really have a comic shop which displays the brand new comics instantly. I'd have to go online for that. Yeah, Old Man Burns, like, yikes. But understandable. All right, so I guess if we've covered everything else, we can move on to the main attraction. Batman Earth 1 Volume 1.
Volume 1, standing ready.
Yep. Yeah, so this is okay, yeah, so let's you begin.
It's Man, I did a reread this morning and I didn't have time to finish. I think the last page I read was when you have like that big twist of everything that's been happening. But the Earth One line, I believe, started, I want to say, over 10 years ago. It was basically uh, a new universe that they were trying to create, but they were not doing it like on a monthly basis. They were just basically going to just launching it in prestige graphic novels, kind of like, you know, hardcover and stuff, and then later you would get the full trade paperbacks. But they were just wanting to just try something new, diverge from the continuity, and just tell these prestige stories. Jeff Johns and Gary Frank, who have been long time collaborators, even when they were working together on Action Comics way back in the day when he was writing with Richard Donner at the time. And before Jeff Johns became the powerhouse writer that kind of reshaped DC Comics that we know today. I mean, he made Green Lantern a name, like even
Mhm.
up there with Batman and Superman as the Star Wars corner of the DC universe. And then you had like the Earth One Superman, which kind of, a lot of people will say that that was one of the inspirations for Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, the look of it. Like, you know, when you see Superman walking around hitchhiking and he's trying to figure out finding himself, that's lifted from that book. Wonder Woman by Grant Morrison, the Teen Titans from Jeff Lemire, etc. And here we basically have a tale as old as time, I like to say, where you have Bruce Wayne as Batman starting year one, basically. This is basically Jeff Johns and Gary Frank's year one storyline, where you have a young Bruce Wayne who's just starting out as Batman in Gotham. He's very rusty as a vigilante. He's does People don't even call him Batman yet. And what does every story with Batman when he's out on the first go started? He's trying to solve the murder of his parents. And this first volume is basically showing just how dark the depths of Gotham's underbelly is when it comes to crime and corruption. We've seen many versions of crime and corruption. We've seen it in Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins. We saw it very recently in Matt Reeves' The Batman. And you've seen it in Bruce Timm and Paul Dini's Batman the Animated Series, where all these areas that have their fingertips in Gotham, from the legal system to law enforcement to capitalism, everything is as dirty as the streets that inhabit the city. And you have Batman, the future Dark Knight and future world's greatest detective, to basically be that shining beacon, you know, the knight in shining armor, but he's the Dark Knight, basically. And you get a I think this book also inspired the Alfred we got in the Batman with Matt Reeves, because that Alfred is more, he'll kick your ass if you're not careful, and much less proper gentleman. Like, you can actually tell that they want to lean in very heavily into Alfred Pennyworth's service on Her Majesty's Secret Service. And
Same with the Gotham show. They got
exactly,
that a lot from there.
exactly. So this kind of still draws from many interpretations we've seen of Batman, Thomas Wayne, the Waynes, the Arkhams. They really lean more into the history of Gotham City here. They lean into the political drama of it. Um, Hell, even the Telltale Games version of Batman that they did even touched on the Waynes and the mafia in Gotham. And here you get their usual well-known characters. You get Bruce Wayne, you get Alfred, you get Barbara Gordon, you get Alfred Pennyworth, you get Harvey Dent, you get Harvey Bullock, and you also get
Jim
Mayor
Gordon.
Oswald Cobblepot as well.
Yes.
And rereading this, I don't know if this happens to you sometimes, but I was rereading this, and even when there were some pages without the sound effects in the corner, just to kind of make you read or imagine in your head what's supposed to be happening, it felt like I was reading a movie.
Mm.
Like, every time I read a Batman comic, I always imagine may he rest in peace, Kevin Conroy's voice as both Batman and Bruce Wayne. And here is no different, but I can hear the batarang, I can hear the grappling hook, I can hear the car, the punch, the glass shattering, the maniacal laugh, everything. This is a very cinematic told volume of storytelling when it comes to Batman. And Jeff Johns, he really does get Batman. And a lot of stuff, you know, in the mainline comics, we're so used to Batman always having like the bat glare, the eyes are always hidden, which I would like to see in live action personally. But I remember I think it was either our mutual friend Ben who said it once, or maybe someone in the industry said it, that the one thing that this gave him an opportunity to do was is like showing his eyes is kind of looking into his soul,
Mm-hmm.
and what a mythic character like Batman is like when he's not perfect, when he's imperfect, when he fails so hard in the first half of this book until he finally starts to get his groove. And this is basically an origin story, but it's kind of flipped it on its head because a lot of the roles are reversed. Like you like Harvey Bullock and James Gordon, those roles are reversed. James Gordon is kind of playing the Harvey Bullock role that we're used to, and Harvey Bullock is playing like the fresh-faced Jim Gordon that we're used to. So it's a very interesting change in the relationship, and the twists and turns are just like, oh crap! Like I've read this before, but then I'm reading it, and I'm discovering it again. I'm like, oh my god, what's gonna happen next? It's a very good book. What did you think about it?
I can see definitely where other films pulled from it. I mean, obviously the whole Martha being a member of the Arkham family, that was obviously borrowed into the Batman by
Yep.
Matt Reeves. The idea, it seems like they borrowed their version of Gordon from the Dark Knight trilogy as well. You know,
Yeah.
the guy's like, I'm no how emphatic he is that he's not gonna snitch on anybody, but he's not gonna take anything either. He doesn't like being on the take. I liked that Harvey Bullock was kind of this blowhard on a TV show, and he just gets his ass handed to him so quickly. And how Gotham just seems like just a terrible place. It's like maybe
Oh,
you should tell Barbara to go move to another city if you really want her to be safe.
yeah. It's like anything you do, like even a paperclip is gonna kill you.
Exactly. And then to see that you have this weird birthday boy type serial killer person being employed by the mayor, and it's like, really? And he got out of the Crane Institute instead of Arkham Asylum. I'm like, okay, he's on the take. And I was surprised at where the direction goes with Mayor Cobblepot. I thought with this being sort of I mean, this is, I guess, is a mini series, so they could do what they want with it. And
Oh yeah, this is a brand new continuity. Nothing is off limits here.
well, I meant that wasn't something that was going to necessarily be ongoing and frequent, like a weekly series or anything, given the
Yeah,
events
this
of the
is
story.
very self-contained. It's not gonna go anywhere.
Yeah. Uh, I did like that whole vibe of just how dark and grungy Gotham was. I loved the pacing of the story. Did flow pretty nicely. The mayor's even got people, at the police station calling just to let him know what it's. You would think that if he's paranoid that somebody's going to look up the old files and has somebody to call about it, that he could just as easily have that person pilfer those files from the police station and burn them instead.
Mhm.
uh, but and the idea that Thomas was going to run for mayor and there was a scandal, and that's what possibly led to him getting killed, which is all Matt Reeves also borrowed from that. So I wonder if, tying back into the movies, if any of the things from the rest of the Earth One storyline will move over into part two, the Batman part two. It'll be interesting to see that. But I like that this one was primarily about Bruce trying to solve his own parents' murder and actually getting to a solution, even if it isn't necessarily the solution that he thought he was gonna find. And how like the Gordon, it does feel like a different version, because year one was written from Gordon's perspective. Like Gordon was the protagonist in that, and Batman was kind of a background character, and everybody you're kind of seeing him from the perspective of the criminals or the reporters who are wondering what the hell is that. Kind of like in the beginning of Tim Burton's Batman '89 movie, where it's first told from the perspective of the reporters and the criminals, and you're wondering like, who is this guy? Whereas here in Earth One, it's very much more yeah, recycling elements of the year one storyline, but it's more from Bruce Wayne's perspective, and as you mentioned, the revamped Alfred and all that. So I really kind of dug it, and that whole just dark and grungy vibe of what Gotham is, and what and bringing in Lucius Fox as well. Uh, and I love the bit when Gordon and Bullock finally kind of when they team up, and what was it that he said? He says, "Hey, let's go." Let me pull up that page here. It is really funny. Yeah, he says, "Hey, let's go. It's not good cop, bad cop. It's bad cop, bad cop." With baseball bats when they go
Yeah.
after the crooked
Jeff
informant.
Johns, Jeff Johns always has that out of nowhere splash page where you're just like, "Yep, that's bravo, sir. I could not have come
But
up with that
I
any better."
loved how that's how Harvey kind of tried to smooth things over with Bullock. Or not Harvey, how Jim Gordon tried to smooth things, or how Harvey Bullock tried to smooth things over with Gordon, and then it
Yeah,
worked out pretty well. And I love it when Gordon just drags the informant back to the station, like, you can't arrest him. And he's like, you
yeah,
bet your ass I can. And he's like, nobody's gonna stop me. Uh, and what a great tease for the next issue. Uh,
yeah,
who is the Batman? It is quite a riddle. Uh, with teasing the Riddler here, that was quite fun.
yeah. And I don't know if you got this, but I didn't get it the first few times I read it, but it kind of hit me, and I'm not sure if this was intentional or if I'm looking into it. I'm looking at something that's not there. But there's a splash page where Bullock and Gordon are driving around Gotham, and that's when kind of Bullock kind of sees that Jim is basically neutered in Gotham because in the book it reveals why. He's not on the payroll, but he also can't really do jack shit because the city is bought and paid for, and if you don't learn the rules, you're going to pay a very hefty price. And there's a scene where both Gordon and Bullock are in the car, and I swear to God, I think the inspiration, because Gary Frank's art style is very specific, very distinct. You can already tell what it is. But in this scene at the top right there,
Mm-hmm.
I swear it looks like Harrison Ford and Judge Hartnett from Hollywood Homicide.
On the top right there.
Yes, it looks just like them.
I don't see it too much, but
I do. It's like, man, that's Harrison Ford and that's Judge Hartnett right there. They look just like them. I'm just like, it's like, yep. I mean, but other than that, um, the you have the not only is it all self-contained, is going to be leading into next volumes, but obviously with Barbara Gordon being involved and Lucius Fox being introduced, he's gonna get the toys because the book shows that, well, if I'm gonna do that, I need to be smart about it. So I like how, and this, I think this is gonna come into play in the future volumes when it comes to him getting his gadgets and all that stuff. It's a very funny editing choice that I can't wait to discuss. And then you have Barbara, who is kind of like the heart of Jim Gordon's life at this point, because no matter how difficult things get, she's always like, Dad, come on, take the stick out of your ass. Like, you don't have to
yeah,
be.
it's like she doesn't seem to get what the problem with Gotham is.
She does. It's just that she doesn't want to keep living in the grime the way her dad is.
Yeah.
And she's also, yeah, it took a real near-death experience for Jim to find his balls again and be James Gordon as we know and love him. And then Barbara gets inspired and starts making her own inspirations after encountering Batman himself. And yeah,
Yeah.
there's a tease of what's the strongest.
Of what's what?
You get a tease at the end, whatever's strongest.
Oh.
Yeah. But I feel bad for Bullock because he comes in there, he has this very almost like Clark Kent when he gets to Metropolis. He comes from, even though he's a detective and he LA is very different than Gotham, but he comes like he's a cop, but he's never really been a cop.
Yeah.
He's like the surface level expectation of what you think being a cop, being a detective is going to be. And then when he has that, come to Jesus moment in the basement. It's like, oh, what?
Well, it's like what Martin Sheen said in The Departed. Do you want to be a cop or do you want to pretend to be a cop? And Harvey Bullock was a guy who liked to pretend to be a cop, having the badge and the gun and be on TV and doing
Yeah,
all this Hollywood stuff for a show. Because Gordon was right when he came in there the first time. He's like, no, you just want to come here to try and solve this case to up your cred. And once
yeah,
you don't, you're gonna want to go back to Hollywood and I'll sign your transfer papers. Rather, but then once he sees what happened in that house, it's like he realizes that he actually wants to be. Well, he's wrecked. He can't go back to being the fake cop because he
no,
was.
he's actually gonna have to really
Yeah,
put up or shut up.
yeah, he's gonna have to put up or shut up, and he wasn't really accepting the gravity of the type of cases he was working.
And even though this is a different storyline and is starting from scratch, I can totally buy that in the main line, that was probably what Harvey Bullock used to be like. Very, very bright, shiny. He had like this
Yeah.
inspiration to be a cop. And when you read him in the comics, yeah, he's a good guy, but he can be an asshole sometimes, a lovable asshole, but an asshole.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Daniel's Hot Topic says Kevin Conroy was my first Batman.
Yep, I that's my story with my introduction to Batman. It was Kevin Conroy, and then years later, and I've mentioned this before in our previous Batman reviews. It started with the animated series, then I saw Batman Forever, then Batman and Robin, and then I saw Batman 89 and Batman Returns.
I can't remember which one I saw for. I was definitely aware of the Michael Keaton Batman first, as far as Batman goes.
Yeah.
And then I probably saw the Schumacher ones first. Then, because I remember way back in like the early 2000s when we first discovered deep discount DVD, the first movies I wanted to get on there were Batman 89 and Batman Returns, so I
Mhm.
could actually watch them. Because I had scant memory, so maybe I'd seen bits of them on TV or something. I didn't really come to the animated series until hearing from other people many years later. I didn't start watching it until I got like an HBO Max subscription, because that's when I could actually watch it.
You never you never saw Phantasm?
No, I first watched that. Either I caught that on TV or on a streamer, probably around 10 years ago for the first time.
Wow. Damn.
Because that wasn't something I'd heard about or was
Yeah, I
aware of
grew
it.
up on that, and a lot of people always call Mask of the Phantasm as the definitive Batman origin story.
Uh, yeah, that was one where it's like I felt they were trying to lean in too much to the whodunit aspect, because I thought it was kind of obvious who Phantasm was going to be. But that was a good story.
And it's funny because that was one of those movies where, and you see this being repeated over and over, which I get it because it makes sense to address it. But that was one of those first storylines where they kept addressing, can Bruce Wayne live a normal life and abandon the cape and cowl for good and be a normal person? And every single storyline where Bruce meets somebody and he feels that he can finally just hang it up and make Alfred, because Alfred was always proud, but Alfred never wanted him to be the Batman. He was going to help him
Well,
no matter what, but he never wanted that life for him, period.
well,
And then
that even happens in Earth One, where Alfred thinks
exactly,
that, hey, we
it
solved the
always
case, it's over, we're done now, and Batman's
it
like, no
always comes
way.
back to it. But what I like is that it always comes back to that one question. It's like, hey, you don't need to do this forever. I see your life like your parents lived it. You don't need to be in the dark forever. But I kind of appreciate that. That's always something that people always want to explore. Is like, is he forever tied to the cape and cowl, or can there be a moment where he can say, I'm done, let somebody else fight the good fight? But then, there always has to be a Batman. It's always going to be Bruce Wayne.
Daniel's Hot Topic says, but Batman Returns was the first live action Batman movie in DC Universe I ever saw. So Keaton was the first live action Batman I ever saw. Hope Keaton will return as Batman. Yeah, everybody would love to see a Batman Beyond movie with Keaton as Bruce Wayne, but
Hell, I'll even take an animated version with him voicing Bruce Wayne.
and I wish they would have just greenlit something like that. Like, just do a spin-off Batman Beyond movie by itself and do that.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean,
it seems like he'd be down
the
for
thing
it.
is that out of outside of Spider-Man, Batman is such a guarded IP that the very idea of doing anything that's not kosher really scares the brass.
Mm.
Like they even had concept art of Phil Lord and Chris Miller wanting to do Batman Beyond in the style of Into the Spider-Verse, and that was just scrapped.
Mm. Uh, here's so Old Man Bird mentions Adam West and the Tim Burton Batman. So I was confused by all the dark seriousness and everything that followed. Well, the dark seriousness happened because the Schumacher films, killed Batman or the franchise for a while. And then I've never contended that the Dark Knight trilogy was dark. I just thought it was more just doing it in a hyper real type sense.
Hmm.
Uh, but the big mistake I think they made in the 2010s was not having Batman in the Gotham TV show. Like, oh, we can't have Batman on TV, but it's like, but you did with Adam West in the 60s, and you had the animated series, and everybody loved that. But no, we can't have Batman here. We have to have it be a little preteen Bruce Wayne or whatever. Uh, that was a mistake. And then the Zack Snyder films were just intense and all the carnage and everything, and very stylistic. So when you get around to Matt Reeves, he wanted to tell like a noir story, and in the spirit of a noir, everything's like kind of seedy and kind of dark, and it was really to me the Matt Reeves Batman movie is the first one that is truly a dark Batman movie. uh Not just literally, but the entire underbelly of the city just feels like it's rotting and everything from the inside, whereas the Tim Burton films, it's like, yeah, they got a stylistically gothic design, but they weren't exactly dark films. Like even with the Penguin story of wanting to kill the kids, it was done in such a goofy type of presentation that it didn't feel dark like it should be, given what that was about. So I haven't really felt that it's been getting super dark. I mean, yeah, the Dark Knight trilogy was more serious, but that was a reflection of other comics from the 80s and the 90s that gave Batman a less humorous side.
Yeah, because Batman, since his introduction back in Detective Comics 27, he was just a man in a costume, solving crime, fighting crime, and everything. And as time was progressing, the stories, which most comic book stories are a reflection of the world we live in, as the world was getting, for lack of a better term, darker, it was starting to seep into the comics. And then the comics were then becoming that art imitating life, or vice versa, where it was shaping the DC universe and the Marvel universe and all that stuff. I mean, hell, Marvel, when they introduced Captain America, the first issue is him punching Hitler in the face, for crying out loud. So it it had Adam West's Batman was, fun for everybody, very serial. A lot of people of that generation grew up with that. And then before Tim Burton's Batman came out, Batman, I believe in the comics, was starting to get into that line of edge to the character, and then came Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, which changed him forever, for better
Yeah.
or worse.
Hey, Canadian Spider-Man, great to see you here. Yeah, Dark Knight Returns, I think that's a good point. That has a lot to do with it too, because everybody still goes back to that and loving it. My co-host on Unifying Force, Dave, is still bitter to this day that the Batman versus Superman movie wasn't simply an adaptation of The Dark Knight Returns. He's like, it was right there. And he's, but yeah, that's another part of it, is everybody loves what Frank Miller did, so they want to,
And you know what's funny? You brought up the Nolan trilogy, and then Zack Snyder, Man of Steel, and all that stuff. And I think hindsight being 2020, even though the DCEU at the time was able to separate themselves from what the MCU was doing, I feel that whatever lessons came from Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, they learned the wrong lessons when they were trying to do their stuff.
Mhm.
Because you even said it themselves, it's like, oh well, it's not really that dark, it's hyper realistic. The word dark, I swear, between Man of Steel all the way to to the month of March 2016. I'm sorry, not 2026, 2016, when Batman v Superman came out. The number one word that everybody kept loving to use from not even the thesaurus is, "Oh, the movie's too dark." I'm like, dark as in thematically, dark as in what? And then nobody could really figure out what they weren't liking. They were just kept saying the movie's too dark, and I'm like, dark what? Like, express yourself. What do you mean by the movie's dark? It looks dark cinematically, or the themes are too dark and it's not family friendly? Help me out here. Like, people were expecting something, they didn't get it, and they kept harping on the one thing because they couldn't find anything else to perfectly encapsulate what they didn't like about it. They just like, it's too long, it's too dark, way too dark. I'm like, okay, what does that mean?
Well, I mean, like in the terms of like Batman versus Superman, maybe, you know, Batman going around branding people may have been a little too intense for certain viewers.
Branding fine, like, it's
Well, because
intense.
I think it was
It's
just
not,
because it was kind of graphic to
the
see it.
whole point is that Batman lost his way. Like, that was the whole thing with the Dark Knight.
I know, but I meant that still, like, it's still a really I mean, yeah, you could. It's one thing to say it, but the way they show it and how graphic it is when you see it just feels really intense and dark. Now, I loved it. I was there for it,
Like,
but
I didn't dislike it. I was just surprised of the complete utter rejection of it. I'm just like, okay. And here's the thing: there are stuff that happens in that movie that I'm not a fan of, and I will argue it to death. But just that complete rejection out of nowhere, I'm like, Jesus Christ! It's like when
yeah,
it's the call coming from inside the house.
it's coming from inside the house.
But yeah, I had a great time rereading this. It's very fun.
Mhm.
It still feels very fresh when you're reading it. And if you haven't picked it up in a while and you read it again, it feels like you're reading it for the first time again. Gary Frank's art is always wonderful to watch. And it's been a while since I read Jeff Johns, and it reminds me, oh yeah, Jeff Johns is a great fucking writer. Even through some of his shortcomings in the last few years, he's a great writer.
Yeah. Old Man Bird says the Super Friends cartoons were for children too, of course. Yes, they were.
Funny enough, my favorite part of the Super Friends series at the time was when the Wonder Twins came out. Like, I don't know why I always enjoyed, like, power of water. And it was like a bucket of water. And then she's like, power of tiger. And I'm just like, I don't know what these things have in common, but I like it. However, for anybody who's a fan of because I mentioned it before, Bruce Timm and Paul Dini, their animated series of Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, they had what I feel is the coolest revamp of the Wonder Twins, where the character that turns into water, he basically becomes a being of water, and he can shoot water from his arms like torpedoes. Very badass. And at one point, they're fighting Aquaman, and he floods an entire building with water. And then the girl, she's like, underwater Rex, and she turns into a T-Rex, but it can swim underwater, and it's basically Aquaman fighting an albino Tyrannosaurus Rex. I'm like, this is why I love comics.
Old Man Bird says, laughing ass off, wonder which wind powers activate.
Exactly. I remember that to this day. Wonder Wind powers activate.
Makes me think of Captain Planet.
Captain Planet.
Speaking of that, it's funny. Jason Momoa was interviewed this week, and he was asked about, when he got the job as Lobo, when he first talked to DC. He says, "Well, the first time was like over 10 years ago, and I went in and I was totally expecting they were going to offer me Lobo. I couldn't wait. I was ready for it. And then they said Aquaman, and I was like, oh, okay." And it was funny the way he just says that kind of dismissively.
Yeah.
Compared to the video he posted when he got the job as Lobo, where you see him with his smartphone just sprinting out of the Warner Brothers building, just giddy as can be that he got the Lobo role. He's like, yeah, this role was totally made for me. And he's like, the first day on set, he's like, he's like, I've never felt like I've been more bored to play a character than Lobo. It's like, I love that.
Yeah, and he looks the part, no doubt. But it's funny, he said that he was born to play it, and I remember the first time I saw him cast as Aquaman, it didn't register, because I remember what is it, Peter David? Is it the Peter David version of Aquaman, the Aquaman from the animated series? I'm like, oh yeah, I can totally see why they cast him, because he's got that very. It's very different from the "have no fear, Aquaman is here" kind of like vibe. It's like, I talk to
Well,
fish. I'm like, yeah, I talk to fish.
well,
Um,
yeah.
but I always saw him as a Vandal Savage kind of
Mm.
cast. And then when he came out of that boardroom meeting with James Gunn, when he was first announced to head up the new DC studios, and Jason Momoa was so happy, I'm thinking, oh, he's going to be Vandal Savage. At no point was I thinking of Lobo. And then as things were progressing, I'm just like, oh, he's going to be Lobo. I don't know it for sure, but he's going to be Lobo. And sure enough, here's Lobo.
Yeah, another reason I think they wanted to cast him as Aquaman was because they wanted to move as far away from that tired old joke of they're always making fun of him, like, I'm Aquaman, I talk to fish, you know? It's like, okay.
But it's funny you say that, because back in the New 52, the first
Those were
volume
great.
of Justice League Origins, you have that scene of Aquaman walking into the harbor. There's a horde of parademons coming towards him, and he's like, yeah, I talk to fish. And when he lifts his hands, giant great white sharks come out and start eating the parademons one after one. I'm like, yep, he talks to
Well,
fish.
I've seen in a lot of different mediums how they'd been making fun of that for so long, about him
Because
just
they make
talking
fun
to
of the Super Friends Aquaman. That's the thing. And the
Well, that's
comics
just it.
and the thing is that the comics had long since moved on from
I
that.
know, but the rest of
But they
pop
kept
culture
going
hadn't.
back, and they kept going back to it. I'm just like, wow, y'all really do not read comics whatsoever.
I know the rest of pop culture hadn't let go of that yet, and they just kept going back to it. So when you saw that trailer, which ended with the camera going through the submarine, and you see Jason Momoa drop there, it's like, oh shit, you know.
Yeah.
Let's see, Canadian Spider-Man chimes in and says, "Oh yeah, I do remember that Wonder Twins. Glad they didn't reboot it."
Yeah, they would have made it into a terrible CW spinoff.
Oh, geez, so many of those.
Hell, they ruined one of my favorite breakout comic books of the last 5 years with CW show. I forget her name right now because it's been a while since I read the comic, but when they adapted it, I was like, y'all really forgot what made this comic so special. It was around the time when Brian Michael Bendis came to DC Comics, and he wanted to curate a lot of corners of the DC universe that hadn't been explored before, and then he wanted to create new characters. And one of the new characters they created, she basically oh, I think that's Bentley. Sorry, give me a second. He's outside.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't realize the cat. Yeah, I just the CW did have a lot of disappointments. I remember I watched the first couple seasons of Green Arrow, or 2 or 3 seasons were good, and then many years later I was watching it, and my mom was over, and she's reading like on her iPad, and she's not looking at what I'm watching. She doesn't know what I'm watching. She can just hear it while she's playing her games on her iPad, and without looking up, she says, "I didn't know you watched Days of Our Lives." I just turned it off because it's like, yeah, it was that bad. The dialogue, the acting, the lighting, the cinematography, it was so bad. It was some episode where Green Arrow was on the news being interviewed trying to clarify some type of event. It was so bad. Far cry, and it had been a while since I had watched that show, but it really was a far cry from where they started. Though I did hear that certain ones were kind of interesting, like Black Lightning, and they had the great casting for the shark or whatever. But I haven't been up to speed on all the CW stuff. See, Daniel says, "Oh, okay, he's saying hi." Yeah. Oh, my friend was talking about how Snowmageddon didn't really happen for him in North Carolina. Did all this big preparation for it, and nothing really happened. It's like, okay, you got lucky. So yeah, Batman Earth One.
Here we are. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
yes.
I
So-
didn't view outside.
So what were you saying with your story there?
uh
Something about the CW thing?
yeah, that they took the wrong lessons from what made the comic book so good, and just ruined it. All right, I'm gonna let you go. All right.
Hi, Bentley.
Yeah, poor guy. He was outside going. "Ah!" I'm like, what is that? I'm like, oh, that's Bentley. Shit. No, because I let him out around the time when we were gonna start, and I'm like, oh wait, that's right. He already wants to come back in. I forgot. I'm still getting used to the idea of having a cat, so it's all very new to me.
Yeah. So yeah. Anything else you wanted to hit on? Any other questions from the chat?
Yeah. Anything else? Hey, Kat. Fun fact. Do you know what's the 4-digit PIN number for Bruce Wayne?
No.
1939.
Oh, okay.
That's the first appearance that year in 1939.
Old Man Bird says Batman and Robin versus Team Rocket because I need to see the live action Jesse Rocket.
We all want to see the live action Jesse Rocket, my friend.
Yes. You know, I remember in Batman v Superman when they teased that the storyline of a death in the family had happened, where Batman had Robin's costume on display with all the Joker's spray paint on it. I'm like, you know what? I would have loved to see that story in live action as a standalone movie. I think that would be a really good one.
I remember leading up to I don't know if you ever bought one of the books, but I remember leading up to the movie. DC Comics was releasing comic books that were kind of like tie-ins to the movie, kind of like preparing people. Like it was supposed to be like sequel comics in between Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman. You had one where Superman is basically trying to stop a high-speed train, and the whole comic is people basically having a debate about the careful power, precision, and like they're all stunned because if you take physics into account, they're all just stunned at how a being of such power had to be very delicate in not only lifting the train up to avoid a collision, but he had to do it in a way that would make the car not fall apart and break apart on his hands when he's trying to stop it. Because you know, in the cartoons, when he stops the train, just gets in front and stops it. But in real life, if he does that, it's gonna, because momentum, friction, all that stuff. So I like that. And then in those comics, it explains how Lex Luthor knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman because he started following all his moves because he wanted to pit them against each other. So there's precedence to it, but it is what it is. And I remember there was also a comic that I never read it, but it was another, they wanted to do like a prequel comic book to the movie, or at the very least, a what if comic book where Batman and Superman are fighting each other, but them fighting each other causes a kid to get caught in the middle of their fight, and he suffers an accident, and that's what makes them stop fighting because a kid gets hurt in the process. Which, thinking about it, just like, damn, that would make a great movie. Like, you have the Beacon of Hope and the Dark Knight who's sworn to avenge everybody in Gotham, and their fight practically killed a kid. That would be shit. That'd be heavy. That'd be heavy stuff. You want to talk about dark? That's dark.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Dark doesn't necessarily have to mean as bad. And I get it on a commercial sense, but I never saw that as being bad. The only thing that I would always argue is that, yeah, I mean, you can do dark, but it's how you do it, how it's executed. Like you just mentioned the whole thing about the death in the family with the Robin suit in the cave with all the Joker spray paint. And then you have Zack Snyder, God bless him. I like him, but sometimes when he runs his mouth, I feel like I want to strangle him a bit. He says, oh yeah, that's Dick Grayson's costume. I'm like, excuse you and your entire race? What? Dick Grayson? Are you out of your
Yeah.
That was one of the times where I could not defend him. I was like, what the fuck are you on?
I didn't hear that.
He said, I'm just like, okay, Zach, go home. You're drunk. Like I was like, because I defended him on some stuff, and then some other stuff I really was like, yeah, that's him. I really can't defend that, or I'm not a fan of that creative choice. But in that moment, I'm just like, bro, I am trying to wave your flag over here, and you're just shitting in my face and calling it piss.
He's shitting in your face and calling it chocolate fudge sundae because he's
No,
like, isn't
piss.
it wonderful?
He's gonna gaslight me into thinking it's piss.
Oh man, that's something.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm just like, you know what? For all the stuff that I did like, I'm kind of, you know, glad we never had a follow through on that, and I'll just convince myself it's Jason Todd's costume and not Dick Grayson.
Yeah, because the fact that nobody says that in the movie, I think, means most people assume that it is Jason Todd.
Yeah, everybody assumes it's Jason because that's the most infamous storyline, the crowbar.
Yeah.
The fact that Jason went on his own when Batman told him don't go after the Joker alone because it's not going to be safe, and he dies in the process. That's the famous storyline. And then when he says it's Dick Grayson, I'm like, the fuck are you doing?
Oh, thank you, Old Man Bird, for $10 super sticker. Very
you.
generous.
I'll make sure to use it for when I propose someday. It'll go into the ring fund.
Ring fund.
Anything else we want to get off our chest before we call it a night?
Let me double check and see what else I may have seen. Like, because I know I'll have stuff things to show off next week. But let's see what's today. So I talked about that last week. Nothing. Yeah, I covered all the films I watched this week, and
oh, excuse me, sorry. We have a guest here.
A guest.
Yes, give me a second. We have a guest. Give me 1 second.
That's a great avatar. Let's see. Oh, and I know, guys, in the intro, it still shows Scotty's picture on the billboard, and that's because this is the same animated intro from when we reviewed all the Batman movies with him a few years ago.
Hello?
Get him in more in the... He's too close. We can't see his mouth or his nose very well. Oh, yeah, there we go.
That's better. I heard you all were having a chat tonight, and I wasn't invited. Why wasn't I invited?
Well, we tried, and we ran out of time.
You tried. You tried. I see. You know the last time somebody tried and failed? You know what happened to them?
No.
Got this close on their face, right? You see me right now?
Yeah.
Well, the next time you want to try harder. Okay. Have a good one. Bye.
I swear I have the weirdest pets in this house.
Oh, that's great.
I swear he's very nice. He just has a really bad attitude about things.
Oh, I do have something neat here. I don't think it's copyrighted, so at least the music, I don't think it is.
That's cool. That's cool. You ever see the Robot Chicken episode of that character?
No.
They basically do a very fucked up parody of Horton Hears a Who, but instead of a flower petal, it's a crack rock.
I got this guy at Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland.
Oh my god, he looks like he's seen some shit.
Yeah, I love how you adjust the ears, and it's like, oh, he's honing in on something. Now he's scared.
Now he's seen some shit.
Now he's just kind of chilling. And
now he looks like Eeyore.
Yes, Old Man Bird. It is Max Rebo from Jabba's sail barge, who was revealed in the Mandoverse to have somehow survived the sail barge explosion.
Because of money, cat.
Yes. Same with
it's called marketing.
Bib Fortuna, just so he could get shot on the Jabba's throne. Speaking of which, that movie's only about 3.5 months away.
Yeah.
Mando and Grogu. And it's like,
by the way, they showed a trailer for that in front of Mercy.
And
I feel like I got a longer trailer than the one they released online because there were some shots that were not in the original trailer. But they
probably tampered with, added more.
Yeah, it's like there's like this conversation that Mando's having with Grogu. I'm just like, that wasn't the original trailer. That's brand new.
Yeah, I hope that the CG shot of the AT-AT Walker on the cliffside gets replaced because that just looks.
I don't think it's going to.
Because that just looks really bad. It doesn't look photoreal at
think
all.
I think everything we're looking at is it. That's it.
Oh, jeez, and it's like
It's funny. It's funny that we mentioned that because they put. I love the evolution of this series, and I mean this sarcastically. When this show started, what was one of those things you heard a lot of people say? They put movie quality budgets into this series, and now it's getting its feature length movie, and now they're giving a feature length movie a TV size budget. It's funny how the cycle evolution of this franchise has gone.
Gore Verbinski spoke about this last week. He speculated that it's because they've been using the Unreal Engine from video games to in movies a lot, and one of the users of Unreal Engine, who was a VFX worker on Pirates of the Caribbean, says, "Dude, we would have loved to have that on that movie." And it's like, well, yeah, of course you would, because it fast tracks the work. But Gore says they used Maya on those movies, which is one of the reasons it looked as good as it does, whereas just about everybody uses Unreal today. And he was speculating that that's probably why a lot of the VFX don't look as mind-blowing as they did, 20 years ago.
Yeah. Well, now you can't say when people say video game graphics, there you go.
Yeah, that's basically what they're talking about.
I'm assuming the smiley, the laughing face is because of Mr. Polar over here. Like he's got an attitude problem tonight. I swear to God. Like he might seem innocent, but it's like he's lurking. Like as you've seen tonight, don't let it fool you. I think he's the reason why I don't sleep that often. People are afraid of ventriloquist cup dummies. Have not met Polar. Yes. Speaking of, you know what he gave me for Christmas? The motherfucker. I think he's trying to brand himself. He gave me this for Christmas. And the reason why I can't because he what?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, he's got a thing for polar bears. I wonder why.
Well, I guess that might be it.
That's it.
I guess we'll be back next week with a review of Volume 2 of Earth 1.
Next week,
or do you want to go? We'll go back to From the Pile next week.
Yeah, next week is From the Pile, and the week after that, we're going to go to Volume 2, then a little bit of the Pile, and then we'll finish up the Earth 1 series so far, because I don't recall if they ever announced that they were working on a 4th volume, but who knows?
Yeah, that's right. It's one of the problems with this series is they take way too long between.
They take way too long. I mean, again, this franchise started over 10 years ago, and we've only had 3 volumes.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Yeah, but hey, I'm pretty sure because we're gonna get the Green Lantern series coming this summer. I don't know if you are interested, but we can maybe do a Green Lantern Earth 1 discussion.
We could perhaps, yeah.
I don't know if you've read any of the Green Lanterns proper, but that could be a good jump-on point for you. It's very different from the main line and very different from what they're going to be adapting. But at least this way we can continue the discussion of the Earth 1 books.
All right. I'll look into that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, until next week, guys, we'll be back at the same time, 7:30 Pacific next week with a 4th installment of From the Pile.
As they always say, Kat, same bad time, same bad channel.